when you listen to music far back, especially like music from the 70s and 80s, you hear a lot of psychedelic music, music that had, a lot of sounds that were not particularly indigenous to Africa.
Okay.
But now, what we're beginning to see is that we are seeing an amalgamation of those two. We are seeing an amalgamation of the African roots and then these new genres of music or seemingly new genres of music. But it has always been there and it has always been on the ground. It's just never been as mainstream as it's starting to become these days.
Africa's music industry may be crowned by Afrobeats, bright, rhythmic, and undeniable. It fills arenas, it moves bodies, it travels fast. But beneath that glittering surface, something quieter is unfolding. A new wave is rising, not loud for attention, but deep with intention. These artists are not chasing formulas. They are bending sounds, stretching it, reimagining it. Neo souls melt into ancestral rhythm. Psychedelic textures float over talking drums. Hip-hop meets live horns, R&B breathe through indigenous language. This is music that does not just ask you to dance, it asks you to feel it. This new sound is textured like our stories, layered, complex, sometimes soft, sometimes defiant. It does not beg for global approval. It simply exists, confident, expensive, and rooted. And in that quiet rebellion, African music is being redefined not as a trend, but as a universe. This is Just Africa, and I am Omevi Idolor. And I'm not doing this alone. I have Emmanuel Amulo with me in the studio.
It's a thank God moment.
My favorite person.
It's a thank God moment. Thank God it's Friday, and I'm happy to be here again because it's been a while. I kind of missed the table already. It's been a very tough week. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm really looking forward to the weekend. Even though I'm suspecting why maybe he's wearing red, because it's like everybody's preparing for tomorrow, which is Valentine's Day. But it's fine. I love Africa. And I love everybody. Good afternoon, Lagos. Good afternoon, Nigeria. Good afternoon, Africa.
I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say anything.
No. Again, so
it's Friday anyway.
Yeah, it's Friday, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
But what I remember, it's going to be a very interesting tomorrow, which is Valentine's Day. I said, okay, you know what? I might just reserve my expectations for today and just maybe wait for tomorrow and see what it brings. But
if I had remembered, I wouldn't have worn red.
Don't tell me you did not wear this red deliberately.
No, I didn't. I don't even wear red because it was in Valentine that my mom and my dad did whatever they did, and they gave that to me in November. So I gave that to me in November. So I don't know good music.
I don't know if I needed that information or that detail. But please, I'm going to cleanse my mind for whatever image that she created in it. But today I'm talking music, and Africa has been known to, use music to tell stories, use music to, impact values, morals, exchange ideas, and it has
African music, especially.
It has transcended beyond entertainment.
Yes,
now. Being someone who has been adept with so many kind of sounds from Africa, you would know that even when you want to pass a message to somebody who is not in your level, maybe somebody higher up, you can't send messages to royals just from sounds. And we have cultivated to the point now that it's now a global food that people want to take in, and we want to be associated with the African sound.
Yeah.
We shouldn't look down on it. We love the fact that there are so many proponents of this movement who are championing the cause, and we would like to spotlight some of them and highlight them as we go.
Yes, we'll talk about some beautiful sounds that are coming. Like I said during my intro, the artists are reimagining so many things, so they are not being held back, and I love it. Our guest today is Dele Ayoola. He is an artist, performer, sound engineer, and curator whose projects like Astronaut in a Garden and Box of Colors, to mention but a few, explore faith, longe identity, and transformation. Beyond his albums, Dele founded Levitation, a live platform that champions innovative, boundary-breaking artists and immersive performance culture. Hello, Dele. Welcome to the show.
Hello, maybe it's so nice to be here again.
Yeah, how is just this afternoon?
Just feels cold, but it's pretty hot.
Cold and hot. I hope we are safe over there.
Yes, but very safe.
All right, welcome once again. So let's go straight to the conversation today. Afrobeats are dominating the world right now. You and I will agree. So where does alternative and experimental music fit into Africa's future sound?
I think there's a new wave of artists that are coming right now, and a new wave of listeners too, who do not want their taste to be dictated by what trends are being dictated by these days, by what the record labels are doing. So I really do think that in just a few years, we are going to see a rise of more alternative sounds and more diverse music culture. Because a lot of times we're so quick to classify Nigerian artists into a box, a genre box. And these days you find more and more Nigerians wanting to come out of that genre and experience other genres outside the one that is mainstream. So I do really think that there's going to be a big shift very soon towards alternative.
When you talk alternative music, right, is that a new genre that we're creating in Africa? Or it's always been there, but it was not just loud because there were other genres of music from Africa that was dominating?
It's always been there because when you listen to music far back, especially like music from the 70s and 80s, you hear a lot of psychedelic music that had, a lot of sounds that were not particularly indigenous to Africa. Okay. But now what we're beginning to see is that we are seeing an amalgamation of those two. We are seeing an amalgamation of the African roots and then these new genres of music or seemingly new genres of music. But it has always been there and it has always been on the ground. It's just never been as mainstream as it's starting to become these days.
Are you sure we can understand or we can tell what kind of music fits into this? Because I know, for example, Venus by Serotonin, I don't know how to pronounce that name. How did I get that kind of feel? Unless maybe I'm mixing up what your alternative kind of sound means. Give me an example of some of those kind of sounds that perhaps if we go check them up, we get the picture.
I think one artist that really comes to mind pretty quickly are artists like Ogranya, artists like Sute Iwa and Te Iwa.
Okay.
So they are more alternative. Yeah, but then they do find ways to sort of mix it with the Afro. But there are times that they go full on alternative, and you just can't particularly recognize it. Rather, you just classify it as something foreign a lot of times. But they are alternative African creators or African musicians.
Do you think that the rest of the world has come to accept our own style of music? Now, I'm not just saying our music. Now, I'm not talking about Afro beats. I'm talking about our cultural sounds, the way we infuse our drums and some other things like that. Do you think that the world generally has come in terms with that reality that we are going nowhere, we die here on this stage?
I think they have, because if you look at the current mainstream landscape, like worldview music-wise, you're beginning to see more and more collaborations with African artists. I know J. Cole just dropped an album recently, and Burna Boy and Tems are literally the only Nigerians featured on it. And I think he had only like 3 features or so. It was feature, Burna Boy, and Tems, which goes a long way to tell you just how much more accepted our music has become. And I've performed at embassies before, and particularly the U.S. embassy. The last time I performed there were so many people walking up to me to tell me, oh, they love my music. This is what they expect from Nigeria, that they love Nigerian music so much and stuff like that. So I promise you, the world is coming to terms with it, and they're coming to terms with it pretty fast.
Yes, I love the fact that you said the world is coming in terms with it, and people, foreigners or foreign artists are trying to collaborate with our own people. Now, that is just one side of our music going global. The real question now, are we exporting our full culture, or we are just exporting hit records?
That is a very, very important question. So I do think that there is a lot more work to be done in how we sort of export our culture so that it highlights the most important parts of it. Because sometimes when you look at the mainstream Afrobeat climate, it feels like, this is being packaged to be, to be comfortable for people to enjoy, which is a great thing because now, it has laid the groundwork for people that can be more extreme to come in. In let's say 10, 15 years ago, you would not be able to have someone like a Sheyi Vibes that is blowing up as much as it's blowing up like in the world right now because but and that's because now it's more acceptable because people like Whiskey and people like the Burna Boys and the rest have done the work, which makes it easier for people to be able to accept the fullness of our culture. So I do think that even though there's a lot more work to be done there, it's a process and the process is being completed.
I still have a question on this global thing, honestly speaking, because most times you see that when these foreign artists want to collaborate, they call our people from here to come and meet them over there. They don't come over. When they come here, it's very rare to say that they are coming because I feel that when they come, they'll be able to say, okay, bring this particular drums, bring this particular drums. They'll get to understand our culture more. When do we get to that point? You collaborated, it's a good thing. But why don't they come over here to make the sounds?
We need, as a collective, as an industry, I feel we need to be in a position where we have more power. Power in the sense of more bargaining power. Because now, the way I think a lot of our interactions with artists go is these artists are worldwide, these artists are bigger than us. So we always have to bend to their whims, And when we have more of the market share, for lack of a better word, we would be able to dictate more things going forward. Yeah, but then this is a very, very poignant point that I haven't even really thought of too deeply about like that.
Yeah.
But yes, we do still have a lot more work to do, to make it to make sure that Nigerian music is not seen as a side dish, rather it's part of the main course.
Let me look for your trouble a bit. Ayoola is your name. Do you have a stage name?
That is my stage name.
Ah, okay, great. So I love that.
I like that.
You stayed true to the identity. But you're a sound engineer. What stands you out from a typical music artist? Because you have an added advantage already as a sound engineer. What now makes your own sound unique, being one?
It gives me the freedom to be able to manipulate more than the average artist will or can. The more you know about different facets of your craft, the more you're able to express yourself freely. So in regards to things where, you have to do a lot of trial and error, for people like me, it comes pretty much easier.
So when you're on your platforms and you perform, essentially, how do you now create the arts and the ambience and everything? How do you do that?
First of all, I think every experience starts from the artist understanding why they are there. So, depending on wherever I'm performing, whatever venue it is, the first thing is picking the right kind of music, picking the right kind of picking the right kind of vibe, that gets in touch with people. And then after you do that, then you're now thinking of the way you're curating the experience. So from how your arrangement with your instrumentalist to the visuals that are being played on the back in the background, to how you present yourself on stage, to the way you dress. Everything is very, very important. And then from there, you're now able to pull the audience into your world and then show them the experience that you have been trying to curate for them, show them the experience that is your music.
Okay, so you're showing them your music or your art. Please, did you travel out of space? Because I'm wondering why you had to name one of your works Astronaut
in the Garden, yeah.
Are you a scientist, space scientist?
So fun fact, for half of my life, I wanted to study astrophysics. And I actually studied physics in the university.
I left
astro. So,
I left astro.
Yes. So
Okay.
I studied physics in the university with a concentration in geophysics and theoretical physics, which is sort of parts and parts in a way, some leanings of astrophysics. So me naming it astronaut in the garden was because I was at a point in my life where I was wondering a lot. Like I had been working on a couple of projects that were not sticking, and it felt like I was literally lost in space. And then again, it also felt like I was still clinging to the idea of what like that old life would have looked like for me versus the new life of what it was of me choosing to be a musician. So that project, the name of that project is kind of an ode to that, and at the same time, like a welcome to what my new life is going to look like.
Okay, yeah, I think
So I
I
can,
love the way you,
so I can easily just say
you
I'm a
wrote
few
them.
way now because you're just mentioning physics and I say you see all those bros there that they no book and now you're now not doing physics, you're doing music. Bros, how? What happened? Because now one person that is lost to music and would have needed doing physics.
Oh, but he's bringing those things in.
You say you see.
Okay, Ayola, go on. We can see you laughing.
So for me, it really was um, I would say disillusionment in a way. We oftentimes go into things when we have thought about it, thinking that it's going to be a certain way, and then the reality a lot of times is pretty different. So I went into physics like, hopeful, happy, then part of it was the Nigeria educational system because I didn't think that as a physicist I was going to be spending 8,001 hours in class every day. I thought I was going to get to experience the more practical aspects of what physics was going to be. And then after that, it did not really pan out that way. And then eventually I started kind of falling into some depressive bouts and whatnot. And then music was a way for me to express myself, writing initially, specifically. And then music came along too. And then from there, I started mixing my writing with music. And before I knew what was happening, I was on stages performing and doing all that. I'd been in choir for a long time from when I was a child. But so it wasn't something that was entirely new to me, but picking it as a career was something that was new to me.
Okay, thank you very much, Ayo. Now, you do live performances. Once people hear the word music, people just feel you all you have to do is to go to the studio, get a song, get some beats and record, and of course try to push it. People don't look at the live performances, and you have been able to do live performances for how long now?
I've been performing live for almost 10 years.
For almost 10 years. What are the challenges
Yes.
of being a live performer?
The challenges are like I should hold a scroll to start reading them at this point. but but one of the major challenges has always been finding the space and the funding and the equipment that you need to be able to express yourself properly. Music is not cheap. I mean, like we can't lie to anybody and say music is cheap. Um, for instance, when I'm rehearsing for a gig,
Yeah.
I'm looking at rehearsing for probably 3 weeks straight, depending on the kind of gig it is. And each rehearsal day can be like 6 hours of rehearsal. Now you're having to pay your rehearsal space an amount of money per hour to use that place. And then if you want to set up your own thing, then that's a lot more money involved. But there's also that's one part. The other part is a lot of times you find yourself at venues that are not equipped adequately to handle your sound needs. And that can create conflict between you and the sound engineer sometimes, or you and the organizers of the show sometimes. But those are the two major things. But every other thing, like it's we have just chopped it up to being part of the life. part
No,
of the
but
life
you've
of being
been
a musician.
doing this over the years. So what keeps you going? Why don't you just wait? Maybe there's a concert and you will DJ track one and you go and you hold your mic and you just jump around and do. No, why do you? Because you're still gonna hold it live this year, right?
Yes, yes.
Good. So what's keeping you going?
It doesn't feel authentic for me to perform the way other artists perform. To come say DJ track one, I like to create experiences. I love to create. I love to perform. I love being on stage. I love building the music from scratch. Yeah, and then saying DJ track one or whatever, it just really takes the fun out of everything that you're doing. Like, why would I do something over and over again exactly the same way when I have a chance to always bring something new to the stage? So it feels very unnatural for me to say, oh, I'm coming on stage and I'm shouting DJ track one. I love to go with my guys. I love to feed off the energy of them on stage.
Yeah.
So that's what keeps me going.
Oh, okay. So Amalo has a lot to. I'm not gonna hold on.
Because the thing is, he sounded so much like a lecturer in the class. You know when they are blurry, vivid English, bro. Many of us in Africa, the thing is, just give us good beats and we're good.
Yeah.
I'm looking at even the titles of some of your works. Astronauts in the Garden, A Box of Colors, and I'm like, what did I just write a poem? Because it's looking more what this lady call it down when you're standing and singing poems or just reciting poems. It's sounding like that. How do you now ensure you keep the African authenticity?
Yeah.
Because this is looking so much like this prehistoric or English.
But I like that flowers in the box, or what's it?
Hey, it's like all these Shakespearean people.
Just tell us.
Keep us African a bit now. How do you do it?
Yeah.
So I keep the authenticity in the sound and in the stories I write. My songs and my projects are always concept projects, and they are concept projects based off of the real life stories of people that are around me, sometimes using me as a point of contact. For instance, Astronaut in the Garden is a project that sort of that explores dissatisfaction. It explores the feeling of being inadequate. And I can say that for a lot of young people I interact with, this is the same thing that they go through. I mean, after I dropped that project, I had people like messaging me and calling me and telling me that, oh, there were parts of the songs that spoke to them. So writing those stories in the most authentic way I can is the way I keep it authentic. And also, I'm always experimenting with new sounds. And one of the things I'm really excited about experimenting with right now is Afro jazz. And we're working on a project towards that. So we're bringing it even more home than we have previously.
Okay, so I'll move away from the titles now. Let's talk about Levitation. You founded Levitation in 2018. Why was it important to create a platform, just as I said, instead of just releasing songs?
Levitation came about as a frustration, or rather,
because levitation means you're going up now.
So I had been going to a lot of shows in Jos Plateau State to be precise, and a lot of times I'd been seeing that the way these shows were being organized, they were not taking into account like the needs of the alternative artist. A lot of times, artists who want to like really perform their art live and things like that, and a lot of the artists felt very stifled. The shows were not being properly, diligently like thought out, planned out, executed properly. So I thought to myself that why don't I just try something and then see how it pans out? Like, let me try and put up a show and see, let it not just be me going up and down complaining about the problems, but let me try and see if I can be a solution to the problem. And we had the first iteration of the show in 2018, and it was we did it at the university, that time University of Jos, and it was way bigger than I thought it was going to be. And people kept saying, "Oh, Dele, you have to do this again. You have to do this again. You have to do this again." So we came back again in 2019. 2019, we adopted a separate model, different model this time. We started with some shows beginning of the year, from February. We did some shows, then small acoustic shows, then we spiraled into rap battles. We did rap battles for like a period of 3 months. Then everything culminated in the main show itself in November, where we had the finale for the rap battle, and we picked one artist from all of the small acoustic shows we did and had all of them perform on stage. And so since then, it's just been us trying to replicate it and trying to make it as, bigger, better, and doing the best we can every time we make another one.
It's always sweet for people to tell you, "Oh, come and do this again." It's always
Yeah.
nice. I hope they were paying.
Exactly. What was the turnout like?
I hope they were paying.
Do they really turn out? Do they pay?
So I think for our first show, the turnout was we had about 600 people.
Whoa.
Which was part of the things that shocked me, that I felt like, okay, it seems like they're actually on the right track. Then for the second show, we had about 1,500 people.
So
I think that's not bad now.
It's not bad though. Especially for a sound that is alternative.
Yes.
So we did try to make the tickets as accessible as we could, as cheap as we could. So the tickets, and a lot of our target audience at the time were students. So the tickets were just like 500 naira. Party.
That's the fair.
So it wasn't bad at all. And then for people to have, we just wanted to show them. I was really willing to take a loss if I could show them the quality of what we could bring to the table. Like, oh, this is how it feels like to actually go for a concert, for a live concert that is not church. So
okay.
Yeah. So do you think the live performances, do you think it really helps Africa's creative economy?
I think it does because live performances open not just a method of expression for the main artist. It also opens up jobs for other musicians, for other sound engineers, set designers, show promoters. So it's a whole ecosystem that I think, if we invest in heavily, we would be able to make a lot of people a lot of money and give them a lot of jobs, and rather than just doing whatever we think is right.
Okay, I think
I like the fact that you're creating this, but do you have disciples already coming who you are grooming? Because we want more Africans to be able to express themselves the easiest way that you can, or they can. Do you teach people?
Yes. So one of the things that Levitation now unintentionally became was sort of like a collective of artists. So each of these artists that are with us a lot of times go out, and then do their own things, and we're always there supporting them. And from Levitation, we have had like other sister shows that have come up with Levitation as an inspiration. There is right now there's Rock City Live. There are a lot of there are 2 or 3 other live shows too that artists are beginning to go perform at, and they are really doing a great job. So we thank God for it. So the tree is bearing fruits.
No.
Okay. You also score movies or music for movies, and you are into production fully as well.
Yes.
And you do a whole lot when it comes to the movie industry. How do you do everything together? Like everything, music, film, and all that.
The simple answer is by having a capable team. That's the only way you can go far. So like I said, Levitation became an ecosystem. So that ecosystem continuously brings in people, and I'm like, anytime there's a project that comes up and I feel like, oh, there are people that are going to fit into this ecosystem and work with, that their skills are best suited to the project. I'm like, oh, okay, we have this. Can we work on it together? And everybody makes money and they go home and they're happy. So it just helps really reduce the workload on me a lot of times, because what's the use of making all the money when everybody else is trying to, scraping for that same money you're looking for when you can just easily share it? That's always been my philosophy. Like,
That's
let your hand be always open so that you can help as much people as you can.
One of the things that we like to do is break down jargons. Yeah? Jargons, especially in different fields. When you say you score movies, let me ask like a man on the street so you understand. When you score movies, it's like you're writing 1/10 or 5/10.
Emmanuel.
Answer that question. I know why I asked it deliberately.
I understand.
Yeah, yes.
So, movie scoring is basically you making the music for the movie. So, when Patience uncle has put poison inside her wife's her husband's food, that you hear, yes, that is part of the scoring of movies.
Like
So
sound effects.
we yes, the sound effects, the music for the movie itself too. The what progresses the storytelling forward, like what pushes the storytelling forward, what reinforces it. So that is what scoring of movies is. So sometimes you're writing songs today. Sometimes you're just trying to lay down mood tracks so that
Okay.
whatever is happening feels more heightened, build suspense, all of that. So yeah, that is basically what scoring is.
Okay, is there a particular movie that you have scored and that movie has really gone very far?
I scored last year. I scored a short film for the British Council called Blood and Rope. Yes. So they have shown the movie in France, in the UK, and some cinemas in Nigeria, including Lagos. And that was a hell of a project to work on. I'm really proud of that project.
Yeah, exactly, because that's what I want to. My next question. Having scored for the British Council and the movie went that far, of course, your name was among those that were credited for doing an amazing job. How
Yes.
has that boosted your career? How did that also boost your own confidence?
I'm not going to lie. I was working on cloud 10, not even 9. 9 was too small for me at the time.
Wow, okay.
But yeah, and it has brought in one or two other jobs. Right now, we're trying to finish up a new movie. I can't, for NDA reasons, I can't say what the movie is, but it brought in that job, and I was really really grateful that it did. And I think we're almost done with it. And when it comes to theaters, you will see it.
Okay.
So what are we expecting for you in 2026?
In 2026, I am trying my best to be more consistent with putting out music. So I tend to overthink a lot because, I'm always thinking of, oh, there's this, it has to be this way, it has to be this way. And I'm trying to be more consistent in putting out music. I'm working on 2 projects right now, and I'm hoping that I'll put out at least one of them before the year runs out. And we have Levitation coming up soon, and a couple of other events too coming up. And also, I will be performing a lot more this year than I did last year. So, yeah, I'll be coming to a city near you very soon.
No problem. When you come, you must visit us here. I don't do any virtual anything with you.
Okay,
you come to the
that's
studio.
good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to ask, if levitation grows as it is growing now, if it grows, what impact should we be expecting, or what impact would you want it to make on people?
Honestly, I want it to make impact in 2 ways. The first way is for the artists and for the creators. I want them to be able to understand that they do not have to be limited in their self-expression. They can do whatever they think is the best thing for them to do and have fun doing it. You don't have to necessarily conform to what the norms tell you that you should conform to. And then the second way is I'm hoping that it brings a deeper appreciation for the audience, in the audience, for what art and creativity and music is in Nigeria. Because I really do feel a lot of times like sometimes Nigerians, in as much as we have a big entertainment industry, there's still that lack of inherent understanding of what the value of creativity and music is.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that it does that. I really hope that it does that.
Let me ask you two questions in one. Question one: which African artist, dead or alive, inspires you? That's one. The question two: is there anyone you would have loved to work with, or can maybe still alive you would love to work with?
The first one is Fela, like I said, and the second one is Asha.
You would love to work with Asha.
But I'm not surprised.
Love to work with
Yeah,
Asha.
yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
When I think about it, you
The
guys
kind of
sound like,
music,
yeah, kind of music,
so,
right?
we are not
But
surprised.
why Fela though?
Why Fela? I grew up in a kind of musical household, but my dad always used to listen. He loved country music, and my mom loved a lot of 80s. 80s. They are Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin, and the rest. And my granddad, on the other hand, listened to a lot of Ebenezer Obey and Fela. But
Agbala.
I will admit that I didn't get the appeal of Fela until I think I was in my 100 or 200 level. And that period, I was just like, okay, I was looking for something new to listen to. And I started listening to Fela. I think I started listening to Sorrow, Tears, and Blood. And I just fell in love with his music. And I did a deep dive into his life, and listened to as many interviews as I could lay my hands on. And I really do feel like he was like the concentration of what a true artist should be, because he reflected the times. He was unapologetic about what he wanted to do, and he was unafraid in his creativity. So I admire that in every way, shape, and form. Fela is our daddy. Our granddad.
Is that that's beautiful. Okay, so you're young, and there are so many young artists out there that want to be like you. Most of them are financially trapped. They cannot go out and make good music. Some of them don't have platforms, free or paid for, where they can express themselves. And these people, some of them have given up, others are at the verge of giving up. What is your word of advice for them? What would you want to tell that person watching you right now?
I also tell the person that I've been there. So starting out, initially, I couldn't afford studio time. I really couldn't afford it. So I had to, make do with everything that we had around us. I remember we were using something that looked like a USB stick, something like this, initially to record our first songs. And then eventually I got in touch with a producer, and he was like, oh, he likes my drive. Come to the studio, come record at night, and we'll figure it out. And so far it's been things like that kept me going. So there's one thing that I know for certain. When you follow the things you love, when you follow the things you love, a lot of times God makes a way.
Yeah.
And I know that this is very vague advice, but you don't know what you can do if you don't start doing what you can do, if that makes sense.
No, I mean, you study physics and astrophysics, so I can understand when you start to go down this line. We can understand.
We get it.
We get it. But I do feel like if we don't educate our people, especially the young ones who want to delve into things like this, they may sway away. Because look, the sound is not. I mean, it's arguable, right? To say that particular sound or it's an African sound, it's arguable because we don't get the beats, the African instrument. So if we don't educate our people, we might lose that touch. And that's where my own fear is.
Yeah.
Does your school do that, or is it your engagement platform do that?
Yes, we do. We do. So there are times where we have like listening periods where my band and I and the guys, we just get together and we pick a project, any project. It could be the Ashake and Whiskey project, which is actually on the list for things that we actually want to listen to. And we sit down, we listen to it, and we listen to it for hours and just dissect it and try to point out the things that we think we liked about the project, the things that we think could have been done better. Because we do feel like the best way for us to be able to understand that sound is studying those people that have gone before us, and then every artist pulls from a database, and a database of things that we have listened to. So having that at the back of your mind, like properly analyzed, talked about, the things that people have pointed out, the techniques that were used, I think that it really does help in the creation and how the artist eventually ends up expressing themselves. So we do try to do that. We do our very best to do that. But then again, we still do have artists who their sound is not exactly African, yeah, but we are trying to figure out a way where we can, bring it home as much as possible without truncating their own identity.
All right. Thank you very much, Ayo, for coming on today's show. We really appreciate your time. And thank you for your patience. You know what I'm talking about. Thank you so much. Okay, so before we let you go, first of all, we understand the name Ayoola shows that you are a Yoruba person from Nigeria. So, what part of the West did you come from? Which of the states?
I'm from Oyo State.
Okay. And what part of Oyo? What do you speak in Oyo?
I speak Yoruba.
Just Yoruba. Right?
I'm from Obuosho South in Oyo State.
Okay, so you speak Yoruba. So you're going to speak Yoruba to greet our fans, to tell them, to appreciate them for watching. Are you going to tell them to keep watching Souk News TV? And of course, Just Africa, and they should subscribe to the Just Africa show on our YouTube channel in Yoruba. This is Just Africa.
This is good. My grandmother is going to laugh at me from the grave, but let's go.
We don't mind. She knows you are making her proud anyway.
Ẹ káàsán gbogbo audience wa, ẹ jọ̀ọ́, subscribe sí Souk Africa TV. Program wa lórí YouTube àti lórí. Are you guys on Twitter?
Yes, we are at Souk News TV.
Twitter àti Instagram. Ẹ ṣá máa tẹ̀lé wa, ẹ jọ̀ọ́. My name is Dele Ayoola.
Ayo, thank you for calling. I really appreciate you once more.
Thank you so much.
All right, Emmanuel.
I like the fact that, he reminded me so much of when we brought Sage Hassan here.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the spoken word, how they do this thing with the poems and the words. And you'd be like, wait though. Perhaps if this man had become a physicist or an astrophysicist, he would have lost him to space, true.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that he's committed in this work, and then he's very passionate about creating a cult following of younger people who are doing the same thing. Because true days, if you can give young Africans especially a chance to speak their voices, a platform where they can be themselves and say what is in their head, perhaps there are some mental illnesses that will not come up. Because some of these people are always hiding things in their head. They're a place where you express yourself in your ways. I was there to even see some of his works, whether he was always dressed in African. Because sometimes it's beyond just the sound. One of the things that his mentor, which is Fela, does is Fela is always cultural in his presentation. And if you know Fela's songs everywhere, but he loves a lot of stage performances.
Yes.
And his dancers are always in the African regalia, different patterns. I love that for him, if that is the way he goes. Because look, in every way or form, we need to promote the African culture. Yes,
so today we were reminded that Africa is not a single sound. It is not one tempo, not one drum pattern, not one formula. Yes, Afrobeat has opened the doors, but beyond the charts and streaming numbers, something deeper is happening. Artists are searching, blending, experimenting, and asking bigger questions with their music. This new wave is not chasing noise. It is building an atmosphere.